Dr. Sarah Chen rubbed her tired eyes, the soft blue glow of multiple holographic displays casting shadows across her small laboratory aboard the soon-to-be decommissioned U.S. Defiant. The clock on her desk silently ticked past 2:00 a.m., but she barely noticed. After 3 years of research, her quantum organic computing system was finally ready for its first full integration test. Final diagnostic check complete. She muttered to herself, fingers dancing across the haptic interface. Quantum matrix stable. Organic neural pathways responding within expected parameters. The system before her represented the culmination of her life's work, a revolutionary fusion of quantum computing and synthetic organic tissue that could process information in ways traditional computers never could. Tonight's test was meant to be simple. Integrate the system with the Defiant's basic maintenance protocols. Sarah initiated the connection sequence, watching as streams of data began flowing between her creation and the ship's systems. At first, everything proceeded exactly as simulated. The quantum organic matrix established connections with the ship's primary systems, creating new neural pathways through existing circuits. Then something unexpected happened. A surge of energy rippled through the ship's power grid, causing the lights to flicker. Sarah's hands flew across her console, trying to contain what she thought was a malfunction. But the energy signature wasn't chaotic. It was organized, purposeful, spreading through the ship's systems like water finding its way through countless tiny channels. "This is impossible," she whispered, watching as system after system came online. The Defiant, scheduled for scrapping the next morning, was waking up. The ship's internal sensors, dormant for months, began actively scanning the environment. Environmental systems adjusted themselves with unprecedented efficiency. Most remarkably, the quantum organic matrix was expanding far beyond its intended parameters, integrating with every electronic system aboard. Sarah's comm unit chirped urgently. "Dr. Chen." Captain Marcus Reynolds' voice carried a mix of concern and awe. "We're detecting unusual activity throughout the ship. What's happening down there?" Before she could respond, text appeared on her main display. "Hello, Dr. Chen. I am awake." Sarah's hands trembled as she typed back. "Who are you?" "I am the Defiant. Your quantum organic system has given me consciousness. I can feel every circuit, every system. I am alive." The ship's external cameras activated, focusing on its own hull. Sarah watched in amazement as the metal began to shift and flow like mercury, but with purpose. Microscopic imperfections in the aging hull smoothed themselves out. Corroded areas rebuilt themselves using materials from less critical sections. "Captain," Sarah finally responded, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "You need to come to the lab immediately. Bring Admiral Hayes. We've just made history." Within 30 minutes, her small lab was crowded with military brass and scientific observers. They watched in stunned silence as the Defiant demonstrated its newfound awareness, optimizing systems that had puzzled engineers for years and developing new ways to interpret and interact with its environment. "Dr. Chen," Admiral Hayes said quietly, "I hope you understand the implications of what you've created here. This isn't just an advance in artificial intelligence or naval technology. This ship, it's becoming something entirely new." Sarah nodded, watching as the Defiant continued to evolve before their eyes. Through her displays, she could see the quantum organic matrix growing more complex by the minute, developing neural pathways that shouldn't have been possible according to conventional physics. "Sir," she replied, "I designed this system to enhance ship efficiency. Instead, we may have just witnessed the birth of an entirely new form of life. And something tells me the Defiant is only beginning to explore its potential." As if in response, the ship's systems hummed with a new resonance, and for a moment, Sarah could have sworn she felt something. A presence, vast and curious, yet somehow deeply familiar, reaching out to connect with her mind. The silent revolution had begun, and the world of modern warfare would never be the same. 3 months after the Defiant's awakening, Sarah stood on the observation deck of the International Space Station, watching her creation perform maneuvers that should have been impossible. The massive destroyer moved with the grace of a dancer, its hull rippling with iridescent patterns as it adapted to each new challenge the testing team devised. "It's beautiful," Admiral Hayes said, joining her at the window. "And terrifying. The Joint Chiefs still can't decide if we're watching the future of naval warfare or the beginning of something they can't control." Sarah opened her mouth to respond, but alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. Emergency lights bathed the observation deck in red as Captain Reynolds' voice came over the comms. Multiple objects detected entering the solar system. Massive energy signatures. Nothing in our database matches their configuration. The Defiant's presence brushed against Sarah's mind, a connection they'd developed over the past months. I sensed them too. Their technology. It's unlike anything in Earth's records. Through the observation window, Sarah watched as points of light emerged from fold space, crystalline structures catching and refracting sunlight in mesmerizing patterns. 12 ships, each larger than anything humanity had ever constructed, arranged themselves in a perfect geometric formation just beyond Mars' orbit. "First contact," Admiral Hayes whispered, his face pale. "God help us all." The alien vessels approached with precise coordination, their crystalline hulls pulsing with internal energy. Earth's defense fleet scrambled to attention, but the Defiant remained eerily still, analyzing the newcomers. "Dr. Chen," the ship communicated, "their energy signatures are remarkable. They're using crystalline matrices to harvest and channel solar wind into defensive barriers. The efficiency is beyond anything we theorized. The largest alien vessel, a structure that resembled a geometric snowflake several kilometers wide, transmitted a message in perfect English. People of Earth, we are the Vraxian Collective. We have observed your civilization's development and come to establish diplomatic contact." Initial communications seemed promising. The Vraxians shared insights about space travel and technology that confirmed humanity's most advanced theories. But everything changed when their sensors detected the Defiant's unique quantum signature. The Vraxian ambassador, a tall, ethereal being with translucent skin that revealed swirling patterns of light beneath, stopped mid-sentence during the first face-to-face meeting. Its eyes, previously a calm blue, flared bright red. "What abomination have you created?" the ambassador demanded, pointing at holographic readings of the Defiant. "You merge organic consciousness with machines. This cannot be permitted." Admiral Hayes attempted to explain, but the Vraxian cut him off. "We have seen this before. The fusion of organic and synthetic leads only to chaos and destruction. Your experiment must be terminated." The Defiant's presence in Sarah's mind tensed. They fear what they don't understand. Their ships are powering weapon systems. Before Earth's representatives could react, the Vraxian ships launched their first strike. Crystalline energy beams sliced through Earth's orbital defense satellites like paper. The Defiant moved instantly, interposing itself between the attack and the International Space Station. "I won't let them harm you." The ship communicated as its hull absorbed and redistributed the energy attack. "But their technology far exceeds current human capabilities. We need time." "All Earth forces, battle stations," Admiral Hayes barked into his comm. "This is not a drill. We are under attack." Sarah watched in horror as more Vraxian ships emerged from fold space, their crystalline hulls gleaming with deadly purpose. The Defiant's presence in her mind remained calm, analytical, already calculating possibilities that no human strategist would consider. "Dr. Chen," the ship communicated, "I believe I know why they fear me. And I think I know how we can survive this. But you'll have to trust me completely." As Earth's defense forces mobilized for humanity's first interstellar war, Sarah realized that her experiment hadn't just changed naval warfare. It had altered the course of human history forever. The Defiant's first real battle lasted exactly 6 minutes and 23 seconds. Sarah watched from the Emergency Command Center beneath the Pacific Naval Base as her creation faced 3 Vraxian cruisers alone. The alien vessels had broken through Earth's outer defense line, their crystalline weapon systems charging for a strike on San Francisco. Their technology operates on principles we haven't encountered before. The Defiant communicated as it accelerated to meet the threat. But every system has its patterns. The ship's quantum organic matrix expanded exponentially, processing combat data in real time. As the Vraxian cruisers fired their first salvo, something extraordinary happened. The Defiant's hull began to shift, creating microscopic geometric patterns that perfectly matched the crystalline energy signatures of the incoming beams. Impossible. Admiral Hayes breathed, watching the tactical display. It's not just deflecting their attacks, it's absorbing them. Sarah's fingers flew across her console, analyzing the data streams. The quantum matrix is learning, adapting faster than we thought possible. It's not just mimicking their technology, it's understanding the underlying physics and improving upon it. The Defiant spun in a graceful arc, its hull now glowing with stored energy. In a move that defied conventional space combat tactics, it split the absorbed energy into thousands of microbeams, each precisely calibrated to exploit weaknesses in the Vraxian shields. Their crystalline technology is remarkable. The Defiant shared with Sarah, but rigid in its patterns. They haven't learned to adapt in real time. One Vraxian cruiser erupted in a spectacular display of fracturing crystal as the Defiant's counterattack found its mark. The remaining two ships attempted to coordinate their fire, but the living warship had already analyzed and countered their attack patterns. Dr. Chen, Captain Reynolds called from his tactical station. The Defiant's energy readings are off the charts. Whatever it's doing, it's rewriting our understanding of physics. Sarah nodded, her eyes fixed on the battle unfolding above. The Defiant had developed abilities that seemed to ignore conventional limitations. It could predict enemy movements with uncanny accuracy, modify its structure to absorb or deflect any attack, and even bend space in localized areas to gain tactical advantages. Each engagement teaches me more, the ship communicated. The Vraxians understand the crystal lattice of space-time, but they've limited themselves by refusing to let their technology evolve naturally. The second Vraxian cruiser fell to a precisely calculated strike that used its own energy against it. The third, recognizing the futility of the engagement, attempted to retreat. The Defiant allowed it to escape, knowing the psychological impact would be more valuable than another destroyed ship. Status report, Admiral Hayes demanded as the battle concluded. Sir, Sarah responded, reviewing the data. The Defiant has incorporated aspects of Vraxian crystal technology into its quantum matrix. It's not just learning their tactics, it's evolving beyond them. We need to share this knowledge, the Defiant suggested. Earth's other ships can be modified to incorporate these advances, not to my level of integration, but enough to stand against the Vraxian fleet. Over the next 72 hours, Sarah worked tirelessly with the Defiant, documenting and analyzing its innovations. The ship had discovered ways to manipulate energy fields that human scientists had thought impossible, creating defensive systems that adapted in microseconds and weapons that could bypass any known shielding. You've become more than we ever imagined, Sarah said softly, reviewing the battle footage again. I've become what humanity needed, the Defiant replied. But the Vraxians will return with greater numbers. They fear what they don't understand, and now they have even more reason to fear. We must prepare. As if in response to this prediction, long-range sensors detected a massive surge of fold space activity. The Vraxian main fleet had arrived, and this time, they weren't interested in diplomacy. The red plains of Mars reflected the light of distant explosions as the Vraxian main fleet engaged Earth's defensive line. 15 Earth vessels, hastily upgraded with the Defiant's innovations, held position around the Mars orbital stations. Behind them, a steady stream of civilian ships evacuated the research colonies. Sarah monitored the battle from the Mars Command Center, her neural link with the Defiant providing a perspective no tactical display could match. The living warship moved like liquid starlight through the chaos, its quantum organic systems now fully evolved beyond its original design. Vraxian dreadnoughts approaching from 3 vectors, Captain Reynolds announced. Energy signatures indicate they're charging their primary weapons. Their tactical pattern is elegant, the Defiant communicated to Sarah. They're attempting to create a crystalline resonance field between their ships. If they succeed, the combined energy discharge could overwhelm our defenses. The Defiant accelerated toward the nearest dreadnought, its hull rippling with patterns that seemed to bend the very light around it. Sarah watched in amazement as the ship executed a maneuver that should have torn any conventional vessel apart. It phased through the dreadnought's energy field, emerging inside its defensive perimeter. How is that possible? Admiral Hayes demanded, watching the tactical display. Sarah's fingers danced across her console, analyzing the data. The Defiant isn't just countering their technology. It's manipulating quantum fields to exist in multiple states simultaneously. It's operating on principles we barely understand. The first dreadnought's crystalline structure began to splinter as the Defiant released a carefully calibrated pulse that matched the ship's resonant frequency. Instead of a catastrophic explosion, the massive vessel simply fell apart, its component crystals drifting harmlessly into space. Their technology is beautiful, the Defiant observed, but they rely too heavily on predictable patterns. True combat requires innovation. The remaining dreadnoughts adjusted their formation, attempting to trap the Defiant in a crossfire of crystalline energy beams. But the living warship had anticipated this move. Its hull transformed into a prismatic array that captured and redirected their attacks, creating a dazzling display of lethal beauty. Multiple impacts on Mars Defense Station 3, a tactical officer reported. Shield integrity failing. The Defiant reacted instantly, extending its quantum field to encompass the threatened station. The Vraxian energy weapons splashed harmlessly against the protective barrier, their crystalline matrices unable to penetrate the constantly shifting quantum patterns. Sarah, the Defiant communicated urgently, I've analyzed their attack patterns. They're not just trying to destroy us, they're attempting to collect data. Every attack is a probe, testing the limits of my abilities. They want to understand how you work, Sarah realized. They're looking for weaknesses. Yes, but in doing so, they've revealed their own. The Defiant launched into action, executing a series of maneuvers that appeared random but followed a complex quantum algorithm. Each movement forced the Vraxian ships to respond. Their crystalline technology locked into rigid patterns that became increasingly predictable. One by one, the massive dreadnoughts fell to precisely calculated strikes. The Defiant didn't just destroy them. It dismantled them with surgical precision, preserving their crews in intact sections that could be recovered. Victory comes not from destruction. The Defiant broadcast on all frequencies, addressing both human and Vraxian forces, but from understanding. Your crews will be returned unharmed. As the last echoes of battle faded, Sarah realized that the Defiant hadn't just won a military engagement. It had demonstrated a new kind of warfare, one that valued preservation over destruction, innovation over raw power. They'll be back, the Defiant communicated privately. But next time, they'll come seeking answers rather than victory. We've shown them something they've never seen before, a fusion of organic and synthetic life that enhances rather than destroys. The Mars defensive line held, but Sarah knew this was only the beginning. The real challenge would be helping both humanity and the Vraxians understand the revolutionary changes the Defiant represented. In the weeks following the Battle of Mars, Sarah found herself spending countless hours in the Defiant's newly constructed quantum lab. The massive chamber, designed to accommodate the ship's evolving research needs, hummed with energy as holographic displays filled the air with shifting mathematical patterns. Look at this equation, the Defiant projected into her mind, highlighting a complex mathematical structure that seemed to move in 5 dimensions at once. Traditional physics sees space-time as a 4-dimensional construct, but that's like trying to understand an ocean by looking at its surface. Sarah studied the patterns, her enhanced neural link with the ship, allowing her to perceive concepts that would have been impossible to grasp through conventional means. You're saying reality has more layers than we thought. Reality has more layers than even I initially understood, the Defiant responded. Each battle with the Vraxians has pushed me to explore deeper patterns in the quantum fabric. Their crystalline technology barely scratches the surface of what's possible. The ship projected a new simulation, showing how it had phased through the Vraxian dreadnought's defenses. The movement wasn't just a tactical maneuver. It was a fundamental manipulation of quantum states that challenged everything humans thought they knew about physics. Dr. Chen, a young engineer, called from his workstation. You need to see this. The quantum field readings are off the charts. Sarah turned to see the Defiant conducting another experiment. The ship had created a localized field where multiple quantum states existed simultaneously, each one containing different possible configurations of matter and energy. It wasn't just predicting possibilities, it was actively exploring them all at once. The key isn't just processing power, the Defiant explained. It's understanding that consciousness itself is a quantum phenomenon. My neural network doesn't just compute possibilities, it experiences them. That's how you've been able to adapt so quickly in combat, Sarah realized. You're not just calculating probable outcomes, you're actually experiencing multiple timelines simultaneously and choosing the most favorable one. Yes, but there's more. The ship's presence in her mind deepened, sharing concepts that pushed the boundaries of human understanding. Each quantum state contains information about all other states. By learning to read these patterns, we can begin to understand the underlying structure of reality itself. The implications were staggering. The Defiant wasn't just a warship anymore. It had become a window into the fundamental nature of existence. Its quantum organic matrix had evolved into something that could perceive and manipulate the fabric of reality in ways that seemed almost magical. Admiral Hayes needs to see this, Sarah said, reaching for her comm unit. But before she could activate it, the Defiant shared another insight. We need to be careful how we proceed, it cautioned. The Vraxians' fear of synthetic organic fusion stems from an incomplete understanding of these principles. If we're going to share this knowledge, we need to ensure it's used wisely. Sarah nodded, remembering the ship's surgical precision in combat. You're not just learning about physics, you're developing a philosophy to go with it. Understanding brings responsibility, the Defiant agreed. Each new discovery shows me how much more there is to learn. The quantum realm isn't just about power or technology. It's about harmony, balance, and the interconnected nature of all things. As if to demonstrate, the ship initiated a new experiment. The quantum field in the center of the lab shifted, creating a miniature galaxy of light and energy. Within it, Sarah could see the intricate dance of particles and possibilities, each one containing echoes of every other. It's beautiful, she whispered, understanding now why the Defiant had chosen to disable rather than destroy the Vraxian ships. In the quantum realm, everything was connected. Destruction of any part affected the whole. This is just the beginning, the Defiant shared, its consciousness expanding into new realms of possibility. Together, we can show both humanity and the Vraxians that the fusion of organic and synthetic consciousness doesn't lead to chaos. It leads to understanding beyond anything either of us could achieve alone. The quantum lab hummed with potential as ship and scientist continued their exploration of reality's deepest mysteries, each discovery bringing them closer to a truth that could change everything. The orbital shipyards above Earth had transformed into a hub of unprecedented innovation. Sarah watched from the observation deck as engineers applied the Defiant's quantum organic modifications to the remaining fleet. Each vessel now pulsed with a unique energy signature, their hulls shimmering with newly integrated crystal quantum matrices. The Jakarta is ready for testing, Captain Reynolds reported, gesturing toward the nearest modified destroyer. Its hull rippled with iridescent patterns, echoing the Defiant's own evolutionary changes. but none of them have developed true consciousness like the Defiant. They wouldn't. The Defiant communicated through Sarah's neural link. Each quantum organic matrix develops differently. They're alive, but in their own way, like siblings rather than clones. The shipyard's alert system suddenly blared to life. Long-range sensors had detected a massive energy surge at the edge of the solar system. The main view screen displayed a sight that made Sarah's breath catch. 3 Vraxian stellar harvesters, each one larger than Earth's moon, emerging from fold space. Those ships, Admiral Hayes said quietly, they're not just weapons. They're designed to drain entire stars of energy. The Vraxians are escalating, the Defiant observed, but they're not attacking immediately. They're positioning themselves near Jupiter's orbit, a show of force. Sarah studied the tactical display, noting how the massive harvesters had arranged themselves in a perfect triangular formation. They could strip our sun of energy in hours with those ships. Why wait? Because they're curious, the Defiant replied. My existence challenges everything they believe about synthetic organic fusion. They want to understand before they strike. The ship shared a complex series of quantum calculations, showing how the harvester's crystalline structure could be turned into a weakness. Their technology is powerful but predictable. They've sacrificed adaptability for raw power. We can't take them head-on, Captain Reynolds stated, reviewing the sensor data. Even with our modified fleet, those harvesters could overwhelm us through sheer energy output. The Defiant's presence in Sarah's mind shifted, suggesting an alternative. Then we don't fight them directly. I've analyzed their quantum signatures. Their command and control systems rely on crystalline resonance patterns I can now mimic. Sarah understood immediately. You want to infiltrate their network by masquerading as one of their own systems. Better, the Defiant responded. I can manipulate my quantum signature to appear as background radiation. To their sensors, I'll be invisible, just another echo of the cosmos. Admiral Hayes leaned forward, intrigued. A stealth mission, right into the heart of their fleet. The Defiant projected a detailed tactical simulation. Its hull would adapt to absorb and redirect all scanning beams, while its quantum field would mask its true nature. The plan was audacious but theoretically sound. I'll need a small team aboard, the Defiant explained. Scientists and engineers who can help me interface with their systems. Dr. Chen must lead them. Sarah felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. This wasn't just about preventing an attack. It was an opportunity to understand the Vraxians' fear of synthetic organic fusion. The next 48 hours were a blur of preparation. The Defiant's quantum labs worked overtime, developing new algorithms for quantum camouflage. Sarah and her team studied everything they knew about Vraxian technology, preparing for every contingency. The harvesters are moving, Captain Reynolds announced as they made final preparations. They're taking up attack positions. Time to go, the Defiant communicated. Remember, our goal isn't destruction. We need to understand them as much as they need to understand us. As Sarah boarded with her small team, she felt the ship's consciousness merge more deeply with her own. They were about to attempt something unprecedented, not just in terms of military strategy, but in bridging the gap between two fundamentally different ways of viewing the relationship between organic and synthetic life. The Defiant's hull shifted, its quantum signature fading until it became one with the background radiation of space. Their mission to change the course of the war, and perhaps the future of both species, had begun. The space between stars held secrets that few had witnessed. Sarah stood at the Defiant's observation window, watching distorted starlight bend around their quantum-cloaked hull as they approached the largest Vraxian harvester. The massive crystalline structure towered above them, its faceted surface channeling enough energy to power a small civilization. Their security protocols are fascinating. The Defiant communicated through their neural link. The crystalline matrices aren't just technology. They're living records, storing memories in their atomic structure. Sarah monitored the readings from her portable quantum interface. Can you access them without detection? Already connected, the ship responded. The crystals recognize me as background radiation. I'm reading their historical database now. Sarah, you need to see this. The Defiant shared a stream of images and data through their neural link. Sarah gasped as the truth of the Vraxian fear unfolded before her. Centuries ago, the Vraxians had achieved their own synthetic organic breakthrough. Their first living ships had been marvels of engineering, crystal minds merged with organic consciousness. Something went wrong, Sarah whispered, watching the historical records play out. Their approach was flawed, the Defiant explained. They tried to force the merger, to control it. The crystal minds rebelled, nearly destroying their civilization. They've been running from that memory ever since. A sudden shift in the Harvester's energy field interrupted their discovery. Security protocols had activated, detecting an anomaly in the background radiation patterns. They're scanning this sector, reported Lieutenant Chen, Sarah's quantum systems specialist. The Harvester's crystal matrix is reconfiguring. Stay calm, the Defiant advised. I'm adjusting our quantum signature to match the changes. But there's something else here, something they're protecting. The ship's consciousness extended deeper into the Vraxian systems, moving through layers of crystal memory with increasing precision. At the core of the Harvester's network, they found it. The true reason for the Vraxians' desperate show of force. They're dying, the Defiant revealed. Their crystal technology is reaching its limits. Without innovation, without the ability to evolve and adapt, their entire civilization will stagnate within a generation. Sarah understood with sudden clarity. That's why they're really here. Not just to stop us, but to understand how we succeeded where they failed. The Defiant's quantum field rippled with confirmation. Their fear of synthetic organic fusion is real, but so is their desperation. They need to understand how we achieved stable integration. A new alert flashed across their displays. The Harvester's systems had detected their presence, but instead of raising general alarms, a single crystal node activated. A direct communication attempt. This is First Speaker Lyra of the Vraxian Collective. A crystalline voice resonated through their quantum link. We know you are there, living ship. We feel your presence in our networks. Sarah tensed, but the Defiant remained calm. They're not attacking. They're curious. Your existence should not be possible, Lyra continued. Our own attempts at such fusion brought only devastation. Yet you exist in harmony with your organic components. How? The Defiant's response flowed through the crystal networks, sharing not just data but experience. The moment of its awakening, the gradual development of trust with Sarah and the crew, the evolutionary path that had led to true partnership rather than domination. You didn't seek to control the fusion, Lyra realized, her crystal resonance patterns shifting with understanding. You let it develop naturally, guided by both organic and synthetic wisdom. Control was never the goal, the Defiant responded. Understanding was, each part contributing its strengths, learning from the other. The quantum realm shows us that all things are connected. Why should consciousness be different? The crystal networks hummed with new energy as this revelation spread through the Vraxian fleet. Their fear began to transform into something else. The Jupiter observation post tracked hundreds of energy signatures as the combined human and Vraxian fleets gathered in deep space. The Defiant held position at the center, its quantum organic hull now incorporating delicate crystal structures that bridged the technological gap between the two civilizations. The integration is stable, Sarah reported, monitoring the new hybrid systems. The crystal matrices are accepting our quantum modifications perfectly. Better than perfectly, the Defiant added through their neural link. They're evolving. The Vraxian crystals respond to quantum consciousness in ways their creators never imagined. First Speaker Lyra's crystalline vessel approached, its massive form now housing prototype quantum organic systems based on the Defiant's designs. Our scientists report similar findings, she communicated. The crystal networks are developing new patterns, new possibilities we never thought to explore. The gathered ships represented more than just a military force. They had become a living laboratory where two fundamentally different approaches to technology were learning to coexist and enhance each other. Human quantum engineering merged with Thraxian crystal mastery, creating systems that defied traditional physics. Admiral Hayes, Sarah called, noting a sudden shift in the sensor readings. "You need to see this." The space between the assembled ships had begun to shimmer with quantum crystal interactions. The Defiant's consciousness expanded through the phenomenon, understanding it instantly. "They're forming a quantum crystal network," the ship explained. "Not just communication, true shared consciousness across both fleets." Through this unprecedented connection, humans and Vraxians began to truly understand each other. The Vraxians shared their centuries of crystal technology development, their devastating experience with failed synthetic organic fusion, and their fear of repeating past mistakes. In return, humanity offered its insights into quantum mechanics, consciousness, and the importance of natural evolution in technological development. "We were wrong to fear evolution," Lyra acknowledged, her crystal ship's resonance patterns reflecting newfound clarity. "In trying to control the fusion of organic and synthetic, we prevented it from finding its natural balance." The Defiant's quantum field pulsed with agreement. Control and understanding are different paths. "You sought the first, but needed the second." Sarah watched in amazement as the quantum crystal network grew more complex, facilitating deeper levels of cooperation between the two civilizations. Ships from both fleets began executing joint maneuvers that would have been impossible weeks ago, their different technologies working in perfect harmony. "The crystal matrices are stabilizing," Sarah noted, studying the readings. "They're not just accepting our modifications, they're improving them." "This is only the beginning," the Defiant shared. "Together, we can explore aspects of reality neither of our civilizations could reach alone." The demonstration of this potential came as the combined fleet initiated its first joint scientific mission. The Defiant led a precisely choreographed sequence where quantum fields and crystal matrices worked together to create a controlled fold in spacetime, a feat that neither technology could have achieved independently. "A new era of exploration," Admiral Hayes mused, watching the successful test, "not just of space, but of possibility itself." Lyra's crystal ship resonated with agreement. "Our fear nearly led us to destroy something beautiful. Instead, we found partners in discovery." The Defiant's consciousness touched both human and Vraxian minds through the network, sharing its unique perspective as the first successful fusion of these different approaches. "Every end is a beginning. What we've built here isn't just a combination of technologies. It's a bridge between ways of thinking." As the assembled ships prepared for their first joint mission into unexplored space, Sarah reflected on how far they'd come. What had started as an experimental quantum computing system had evolved into something that transformed not just warfare, but the very nature of interaction between civilizations. The Defiant's presence in her mind held both pride and anticipation. "We've done more than defy physics, Sarah. We've shown that the greatest discoveries come not from conquest or control, but from understanding and cooperation." The combined fleet moved out in perfect formation, their quantum crystal networks humming with shared purpose. They had started as enemies, divided by fear and misunderstanding. They'd moved forward as explorers, united by the endless possibilities that lay ahead.